covered Hasan multiple times on this channel. He is not a new person. And I have said for a long time that if Twitch is going to have the rules they have, and Hasan is going to celebrate people getting banned for stuff like Asmongold getting banned, he kind of celebrated that. I do think that it's fair that Hasan gets banned for the things that he said and says and does all the time. I personally, however, feel he has any right to speech. Now, it isn't okay to threaten death or incite violence. I don't think that's okay. And that's exactly what Hasan has done on multiple different occasions, whether it's on his Twitter, his streams, and finally it looks like Twitch has finally done something about it. Now, again, I think that freedom of speech is super important, and I don't think anybody should be banned for stuff, but if you're going to have the rules, you got to enforce them fairly, and I think that's what's happened here, that Hasan finally got enforced. And we're going to check out a video by Hero High on Hasan finally found out and Trash Taste responds.
So during that whole trash taste thing with Hasan the other week, that whole controversy, a lot of people were saying that they can't believe Hasan hasn't been banned yet over things that he has said on his own stream, and pointing out to how Hasan hasn't been banned as another example of how biased Twitch can be for certain people. And to be fair, this sentiment is one that people have had for quite a long time regarding Hasan and Twitch. Crazy thing happened though today, just a few hours ago. Twitch actually did ban Hasan. Of course, this does just seem to be a temporary ban.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the thing. I don't want Hasan banned off of everything. I think Hasan has every right to speak his nonsense, whether I agree with it or disagree with it. Is he a terrorist sympathizing weirdo? Yes. But at the same time, here's the thing. Like, if he was out there enacting terrorism, that's one thing. But if he's talking about it, that's a different thing. Yeah, is it dangerous? Absolutely. But I think it's like, I don't like Nick Fuentes. I don't think Nick Fuentes says anything of actual value. Same with Hasan. But I think that they both should be allowed to have that freedom of speech. That's what makes this country so great. And I will stand on that side. I might hate everything Hasan says and say that he is a brain rot douchebag. But I do believe he has a right to freedom of speech.
People speculating that it'll probably be for like a week or so. The general consensus seems to be that the ban has occurred over comments he made about Senator Rick Scott. For example, we can see in this exchange a user saying, very likely over his remark about Rick Scott, lean into incitement of violence. Someone asks, what was the remark? And then we can see the full quote right here in the highlight area on the bottom tweet. Hasan issuing this statement, which in part reads, big shout out to the right-wing free speech lovers who took time out of their day screaming about DEI and immigrants to cry about this.
And here's the thing. I honestly will stand on the ground that I don't think he should have been banned. Because I don't think anybody should be banned unless they do something that is actually illegal. Now, this could be considered like if somebody actually took action against Rick Scott, they could be tied back to him. So this could be considered illegal because it's incitement to violence. So there is a point behind that. But at the same time, on all of the other things Hasan has said, right? On all of the stupid, like, extremist stuff he has said, I don't think he should be banned for that. And I will 100% stand by that. I think that is the right way to look at this, because it doesn't matter who I'm looking at. I think even if I disagree with them, they should be allowed to talk. And that's a more nuanced take than a lot of people. But here's the thing. Hasan celebrates other people getting shut down, and then he decides to make it a thing about right-wingers when he gets banned. It's like the hypocrisy is just palpable.
We can see some people defending Hasan. For example, this comment that reads, that whole thing is so lame at this point. Love how instead of banning real problematic people, they focus their efforts on people like you.
And see, people like that are absolute dumbasses. It's like, oh, we should ban anybody that disagrees with us. And see, there's a big sentiment around that on Twitch, and that's where I have a problem, because Twitch doesn't usually use their policies equally. They ban a lot of people that disagree with like the sentiments of somebody like Hasan. They banned the entire country of Israel, and if that doesn't show just an insane bias and it's disgusting, I don't know what does. I think this is where the problem lies. If you're going to have a platform, and you're going to have all these really strenuous rules like Twitch does, you should enforce them equally. That is just fair. I want to also urge that I don't think Twitch should have these stringent rules. I don't think they should. If they get protections from 230, they should have to be a more free speech platform, or you just say no political we're not a political thing. We are a gaming thing. We don't want any cussing. We don't want any politics, because this is for kids. This is a kid-friendly platform, and then I think that they would get a lot more rights on that, because it's not a free speech platform anymore. It's not used. It wouldn't be used by any of these people, any of these gooners. So I think that there is a conversation to be had there. But at the end of the day, I don't think you should be banned for freedom of speech. I do think it is gross what he said, though. It was fucking like, no, anybody who's out here talking that, oh well, I don't like this guy, so they should kill him. You're a loser. You're an absolute loser. I don't care if you like the politician or not. That doesn't mean that you should be out there like telling people to kill the guy.
However, other comments mock Hasan. For example, this one that reads, Twitch banned you, LMAO. Twitch owners are not right-wing free speech lovers. On top of that, we've actually got an update on the whole Trash Taste thing too. Connor from Trash Taste issuing a quite long-winded statement about the whole thing, including that they're probably never going to have Hasan back on their show. And the comments are filled with duality. For example, this is the top comment, and you'll see the first two responses already have some disagreements, and then I'll play a portion of the clip as mentioned. So we've got this comment that says, sorry Connor, but this ain't it. You guys all playing like you didn't know what Hasan was after already having him on your podcast once is kind of a big yikes. I hope this is a lesson for y'all to maybe stop pretending politics is easily ignored when it is literally the driving force behind every aspect of everyone's lives, dictating everything in it. It's the entire reason you are allowed to move away from your home countries and live in another.
Nope. Okay, we're going to take a step back. Hasan doesn't realize he's part of an elite group that Luigi is against. Absolutely. And here's the thing. If we're gonna talk, chat just brought up the Luigi thing. I'm gonna have a nuanced take here. Not even nuanced. Luigi is a bad person. He is a bad person. Luigi Mangiani is a bad dude. Some of the jokes, pretty funny. But at the end of the day, he's not a great guy. I mean, anybody who just goes and shoots somebody in the middle of the street, not always the best guy. Not always the best guy. It's like, here's also the thought on it. You might not like the CEO of that healthcare thing, which I don't like him. I didn't like him. He seemed like a scumbag. But at the end of the day, he was doing his job the way he saw fit. Even if it was the most awful way to do his job, he was doing a job. And he got shot for that. Now, I think that there needs to be some restructuring and some absolute, like, what they should do is basically get a bunch of badass gooners, right? A bunch of, like, type people, and then we into office and make some radical changes on at least the healthcare system. Now, my position on, like, social healthcare is different, and I think that by like if we went to like a Canadian system, it would be bad. I just, like, anytime I've talked to anybody who talks about the Canadian healthcare system, it's just atrocious. So I think that there needs to be a way to figure out how, like, take the good things that we've done in this country, look at like some of the good things that other countries done, and find a middle zone. I think we need to find a middle zone, and I think that's where the big disparagement here is. There's a lot of romanticizing what some of these other countries do without looking at the pitfalls of it, and then there's the other side that just refuses to make any changes whatsoever, even though we have a lot of corruption in the system. I read that Medicaid is getting cuts. It's getting cuts. It's getting some personnel cuts, and they're cutting. From what I read, they're cutting, like, if you actually look at what they cut, they're not cutting anything that has to do with Medicaid. They're cutting, like, people that are, like, a gajillion years old. That's what I read. Now, I might be a little bit misinformed on it, but there's also a ton of misinformation out there. So when I do research on a topic, right? When I do research on a topic, what I do is I'll read the article, I'll look at who it's from. Like, let's say it's from MSNBC. Okay, I know that MSNBC has a very left-wing bias. I will then go and find like something by Fox or something. I will read that. And then I will kind of try to figure out where in the middle we're at. I'll go find a third or fourth resource. I never take one article, I never take one little snippet of something and call that my research of it and then let that form my opinion. I try to find as many different things to support as many different opinions as I possibly can, and then use my own to get my actually informed opinion. Like, let's say a good example is the Zelensky Trump thing. Now, when I first cutting people that work for Medicaid or that have it. Okay, so no. When I'm talking old people on Medicaid, what I saw was they were like 150-year-old people, dude. There was like 3 million people that were on Medicaid that were like 300 years old or something like that. Now, again, I just like, that's wild. And I think that there needs to be oversight, because I think there's a lot of people scamming the system, and all that people that's scamming the system do is make it harder for people that are actually needing the system to be in place for them, harder for it to work for them. And I think that there needs to be oversight on that. Like, let's say you have 10,000 workers for Medicaid, right? You're paying all of them. Only about 5,000 of them are necessary to run Medicaid. The other 5,000 are taking money that could be going to people that are actually like hurting the country in and of itself for costs. That's where it becomes more of a nuanced issue, and it's not just, oh, well, they're cutting people from Medicaid, they're cutting Medicaid. So you could take, oh, well, they're cutting these people from Medicaid because it's going to save the country money, and we're not messing with Medicaid. There's one position on that argument. Another position is they look at it cutting people from Medicaid. They write the title of the article as Medicaid's getting cut. You should be worried, and then you're getting fear-mongered. So I think at the same time you should look at multiple different sources, and yeah, and that's what I'm saying. People who scam Medicare should have that oversight, and they should be looked into. And when stuff does get looked into, I don't think we should instantly go to this is bad. And yeah, and Hasan was banned temporarily. And I think there's always a nuanced take, and it's back to the Luigi thing. What I was gonna say on Luigi is, it's like, I understand somebody feeling like they get pushed too far, but at the same time, it's not like we start saying people like Luigi are okay. Well, all of a sudden there can be like other people that don't have as nuanced of a situation as Luigi, and now politicians are dying. Now store or landlords are getting killed because they decide that all landlords are bad. And I mean, this is something that Hasan has said, that like they should kill landlords because of their evil capitalist blood. And this is where I can look at somebody and say, yeah, the medical system needs to be reset, but I don't think violence is the option. I'm going to stand against violence. Like, it's not like the CEO took a gun out and went and shot somebody's family, and this guy's getting revenge for that. I mean, it's still taking justice into your own hands, which is still kind of a gray area. But like, if the dude shot his family, I would be like, yeah, it's a little different. But at the same time, it's like we're just targeting like leaders of companies because you don't like it. And you know what that does? All that does is, one, it emboldens society to be part of society to be against people like Luigi, and it doesn't show the company to make any changes. What they do is they just hire a new guy who is going to make the money as well, and no changes get made. The violence like that never proves the point that it's actually supposed to prove. It just emboldens the companies. I don't see it in any other way. If I was the company, I'd be like, wow, dude, this fucking sucks, but where's my bottom line? That's what the board is going to be thinking. That's what all the people who have invested in the company are going to be thinking. Okay, is this going to hurt the company? Okay, it didn't. So how do we move on and keep making money? And nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change. It's just the violence never does anything. What actually does something is like if you have like actual like good protests, or you actually show the horrors of it, like if you go out there and you make like an actual documentary, long breakdown, doing an investigation, release it out there to the world, you'll get more people on your side who will watch that and be like, wow, dude, look at these scumbags being scumbags, and you will get more information out in the world, and that's how you make a change, not just going out and shooting a guy.
Other country, someone somewhere at some point in time fought for that right you have now. And then we can see, as mentioned, duality in the immediate responses. For example, this one saying very true, but the next one reading, it wasn't even over politics. It was also about platforming someone who says horrible stuff that normal people are just appalled by.
And I hate this. You can platform whoever you want. Now, here's where the issue kind of comes with the nuance of the situation. Trash Taste the people on Trash Taste have made it apparent over a billion times that they don't want to be political. They don't want to have anybody that's controversial, and yet they keep having Hasan on. And it just goes as like a stark contrast to their opinions on having different people on. Like, I think that they refuse to have people like Nuxenor on. They've refused to have other people kind of on the same thing where they're like, oh, well, you're a bit controversial and we don't want to hurt our image, which is fair. That's fair to have. But then to have somebody like Hasan on and pretend that he's not a monster, that's where it's different. That's where the hypocrisy comes, and that's where I'm here. I love the hypocrisy. I love the chaos. I love watching all these gooners be gooners. And it's one of those things that I love this part of it. I don't care about the political side of it. And this idea that everything's political is bullshit, dude. I go through my life, and most of this stuff, even though I do get a little political and some of my opinions get put out in the world, I'm mostly here to watch downfalls. I'm mostly here to watch the drama and the chaos of it all unfold. I'm not really the political guy. I'm well informed enough to go through my day to day and make my own opinions on stuff, but I just like to watch people crash and burn. But I hate this, oh, well, you shouldn't be able to platform certain people. I had no problem with Hasan having that Houthi pirate on his stream. Where I had the problem is he talked about how much of a journalist he was, and then asked the motherfucker about One Piece. Like, dude, the One Piece is real. How did you like taking those captains hostage? I'm like, I don't remember Luffy taking captains hostage, you weird fuck. That's not journalism. That's where I have the issues. It's like where I talk about Hasan rightfully being banned. It's not because I think that he should have been banned because I stand for free speech. It's because I think that if you're going to enforce your policies, you should enforce them equally.
So I think, first of all, I think from our podcast perspective and from our perspective, if it is fair to say that if we don't engage in politics publicly, because it's just a mess. None of us live in the US. None of us are in any of these kind of intense political situations. I think it is also fair to say that, yeah, why would we bring someone political on? Which I think is a very fair and extremely very fair criticism of us to do, which I agree with. Second of all, the thing that was also very frustrating is that no matter what people were saying, there was a lot of brigading on a lot of sides, and I think that two things can be true at once. There were Trash Taste fans who are unhappy, and there also was brigading happening, which is also very frustrating to deal with, because then it's like, okay, now
but here's the thing, like, literally, if you're gonna be upset and brigading on both sides, he did say that it's one of those things that you have somebody so contentious that's going to get a mass angry response on. I mean, if I started a podcast and I said that I just want to talk about comic books, I want to talk about video games, and then the first person I have on is Nick Fuentes, I'm going to get, I had an extremist on, so I'm going to get an extreme response. And the fact that people don't look at Hasan as an extremist is the problems why these arise, is because societally and by the internet standards for however long, they have not seen people like Hasan as extremists. They see him as just a normal political commentator, when that's not what he is. He is the Nick Fuentes of the left, and when you have somebody on that's extreme like that, you will be surprised. You shouldn't be surprised that you get such an extreme response.
we can't actually listen to any criticism on the episode because both sides are jumping in, right? And I even told Hasan, I was like, hey man, can you not? Like, it's bad enough that one side is doing this. Please don't bring up the episode and be like, hey, send people.
But that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. He did that. He sent people. And then Hasan's fan base is weaponized enough that you literally can. I will repost this as a video, and I will have Hasan fans getting mad at me, even though I've had a nuanced take where I've said that he shouldn't be banned. And I have like actual positions to where at a certain point I'm being kind of very nice towards Hasan in this whole breakdown, even though I vehemently do not like Hasan. He is my least favorite person on the internet. And then I can say, but I also can say that I can stand for his right to talk about the opinions he has, even though I vehemently disagree with them. What's funny though is his audience, even though I will say that, will come and attack me as hard as they can. Even if this video only hits like 500 views, I will have 10 comments of Hasan fans that saw the thumbnail and got really, really mad, and then they will just consistently be annoying. I mean, if anybody's on my Discord, they've seen every time I post a Hasan video, they show up in my Discord and are very mad with me. And it's like, dude, you need to broaden your horizons and look at other directions and try to see that maybe you're a little entrenched, maybe you're a little captured by a community, and you shouldn't let that happen to you. You should have a well-rounded opinion. You should go and check out these other communities, see what's going on there, see what's going on over here, see what's going on over here, and see all the different sides of the coin. If you're just looking at one side of the coin, you're going to go crazy at one point.
I was like, just be above this, don't do this.
He is, of course, referring to how Hasan had brigaded, asked his community to, brigade the comment section or something. You know what? I'll just play that clip again. It'll make things easier.
Too bad. I get irritated from just seeing his face. The guy has said so many profoundly idiotic things that I honestly cannot listen to a word from him. The brigade is on, folks. Get in and actively counter the brigade.
This was also, of course, comedic because it was like Hasan couldn't fathom that there are people who genuinely don't like him, who are trash taste viewers. It's like, oh no, if any trash taste viewers dislike Hasan, this has to be disingenuous. It's got to be some kind of brigade or something. And there were also people in his chat saying that all the hate was just bots and, stuff like that.
If people who are...
Well, and I think we're also getting to a point where a lot of people are, because I think the internet's kind of opening it back up again, I think it's starting to become I'm starting to see, that's one of the reasons why after this I'm going to react to some of the Whitest Kids You Know skits, is just because of the fact that I started seeing some of these old edgy skits pop up on YouTube. I'm starting to see stuff that I haven't seen in 10 years. And it's almost like these algorithms are opening up again and not pointed at a certain direction, not pointed and trying to appeal to a certain demographic. They're just like, all right, we're just gonna let the algorithm do whatever the fuck the algorithm wants again and have fun. And I think that now that people are starting to feel like they're not afraid on the internet anymore, they're starting to branch out. And when you start branching out, you're going to start to see that some of these people that you've been watching are absolute dipshits. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, again, I used to watch Steven Crowder back in the day, and I fucking will full-heartedly admit that when I was watching him, I used to vehemently think that whatever he was saying was just actually just 100% correct. And then I branched out a little bit, found out that I was a little bit captured by certain thoughts and certain perspectives, and I started finding out that sometimes he's just an absolute dipshit and gooner, and not everything he says is correct, and sometimes he's an absolute asshole. And I think that once you start realizing that, you then get more grounded as a person, and you start to realize, well, maybe I shouldn't let one person's opinion move me that much. Maybe I should make my own informed decisions.
Have very extreme beliefs, want to go crazy. I can't stop them. They can do whatever they want. But you hope that at least, another side wouldn't do that as well.
Dude, people still thinking about the Luffy take. It's a terrible fucking take. You had a Houthi pirate on, and I just read that thing, and the Hasan fans will take something, right? They'll take something he said that is actually atrocious, take it into the simplest aspect of it, and then make it act like you're the one who's losing your mind, like you're the crazy person. It's like, dude, he said he was a journalist and then glazed the fuck out of the guy while he was talking about taking people hostage. That's fucking weird, dude. What the fuck are we talking about here? What's going on? Why am I the crazy person? No, you're not crazy. You're normal. If you saw that after he talked about being a fucking journalist, and then he did that shit as the most unjournalistic glaze session, if he could have sucked that dude's wiener, he would have sucked that dude's wiener. And then over the next months to years, year, he just consistently, every time that dude would do something that was atrocious, like talking about putting Jewish people on pikes, he would then act like, oh, random Yemeni teenager did this. It's like, dude, you're literally gaslighting your own audience to try to make yourself look better so you don't get made fun of. Like, it's just so disingenuous. I don't understand how anybody can see him as other than like a disingenuous lying piece of junk.
But I told him, I was like, hey, please don't do that. And he was like, yeah, man, okay, my bad. But I think as well, you know, I told Hasan as well, I was like, hey, look, the show is not political. We don't want to deal with politics. You know, we're most likely not going to have you on again.
So yeah, those are the brief updates, and I'll link Connor's full video in the description. Once again, it's like 17 minutes long, so consider checking out his full take if you'd like, as the portion I played certainly doesn't reflect everything he said. And let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments. If you enjoyed the coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing. Have a great week ahead, and I'll see you in the next one.
And here's the thing. Last thing I'll put at the end here. I think that it got to the point where Twitch had to make a statement. They had to make a statement because they were getting so much backlash, and they were having like advertisers pull out. They've been having a rough year, and a lot of it is revolving around the stuff that Hasan says and does. And if you're going to have the stringent policies to where you're going to ban people for certain radical takes, it makes 100% sense that you're going to move away from somebody like Hasan, and you need to make a statement at some point. So I think they were just waiting for Hasan's next big crash out, and this was it. This was his next big crash out, like literally talking about murdering a U.S. senator. That, and how, like, oh well, and what this argument's gonna be boiled down to, oh well, you just want to protect him because he did some bad stuff in the past. It doesn't matter how bad of a person he is. Like, okay, that's not the correct take. It does, like, if he's like atrocious and he like goes out there and like fucking shoots puppies with a silenced machine gun and it gets hit, it's like, that's gross and stuff. But it's like, okay, he did fraud. That should be bad. He should go to jail for fraud. But that doesn't mean you get on your platform and incite violence. Like, oh, we should have him killed. And then later try to, because the whole clip in context, he actually then defends it again. And later, like the next day, he's like, oh yeah, people are taking it out of context. What I meant is he deserved the death penalty. That is not what you said. That is not what you said in context. And now you're gaslighting your audience into believing you said something different, which he does every single time he has a bad take. He gaslights his audience into believing something differently. And that's my problem. If you can't take a step back, look at what he's saying and say, you know, that's not what you said. That's not what you said at all. Now, let me go back and rewatch it in context. Okay. Wow, you know, it seems a little different. Instead of just being like, yeah, Daddy Hasan, that's so good. I remember you saying that when you never said that at all. And that's kind of the problem with Hasan and his audience. And by being emboldened by Twitch for so long, acting like he hasn't said anything wrong, and then them singing him happy birthday and literally condoning everything he does, to the point where they're having Arab tier lists in front of like at TwitchCon on their advertiser stage. There is going to see that there's a heavy bias at Twitch, and it's like disgusting. I think that the best course of action wouldn't be to ban people. On Twitch. The best course of action, and what I've always believed, that no matter what opinions people have, if you can get in the position where you have multiple different opinions from multiple different sides, you will find that your audience will then check out other people if they're popular. They will say, oh, I hate this guy, I'm gonna go make fun of him in his chat. But then they start listening to him, and you know, he does make some good points, he makes some valid points, and then they will go back to their previous guy and they're like, you know, I'm starting to see the problems that this other guy brought up. And the best way to combat misinformation and disinformation is by having somebody who's out there talking about the correct information. And even though there's going to be misinformation and disinformation on both sides, the fact that there is the platforms not vehemently taking down certain opinions is going to provide the viewer, your regular consumer, with a more well-rounded opinion. I think that that's the better way to go than just banning people because you don't like what they're saying. And I might get flack from that, but I don't care. I don't care. I think that's the more grounded take. Even though I think Hasan is a disgusting individual who puts terrorist propaganda on his streams, who constantly is threatening legal or political figures, because this isn't the first time. He has done it multiple times in the past. It's one of those things that I think that to an extent he is fine in everything he says. And now if somebody goes and actually hurts Rick Scott, I mean, I think that he could be pulled in on some legal things. Like if they found out he was a Hasan fan and then that clip came up, I think that can be admissible in court. Now if you're a lawyer, let me know in the comments below. But as far as I know, for what he said, I don't think that it's legally accountable 100%, but it might be. So you'll have to let me know. Again, there are certain things you cannot say. Like one, for example, is like you cannot go out and say I'm going to end the president of the United States, because that is like an incitement on the president. And like there is certain speech you cannot say. Like you can't go out and talk about how you're going to end the president of the United States, because that is illegal. That is illegal, because that is one of the few things out there that is like a big no-no. And even when people are like, well, you can't say bomb or say fire in a movie theater, you can. You definitely can. There is no actual law against that. It is a huge misconception. But that's all I got for you guys today. That's all the whole thing I got on Hasan. I think that maybe this will be like a wake-up call for him. I honestly just wish that Twitch would have never gotten so ban happy to embolden people like him. I think if Twitch would have never gone down this weird road of banning anybody that had too wild of takes on the right, there would have been more of a balance, and I don't think he would have felt like he could be as emboldened behind his words. But that's all I got for that.